Hello everyone, welcome back to Totally Unbiased. My name is Adam. This is the show where I talk everything movies, games, TV shows, anything I'm loving at the time, I talk about. So today we have something pretty special. We're talking about Dracula, one of the OG monster movies. Now we're not talking about one of the more current ones. I think there was one in the 90s or something like that. No, we're talking OG 1931 Dracula. So I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time Dracula ever actually appeared in a movie. Now I know there was Nosferatu, that happened before it, but I think this might be the first one, the first actual character named Dracula that appeared on screen. And this movie was something. So let's get into it. The first big thing that really was jarring to me, obviously it's in black and white, and I don't really care if movies are in black and white. That's not a big deal to me. I'll totally watch a black and white movie. But the thing that really threw me off was the music. There was no music throughout the entire movie. None of the movie had music in it, except I think the title screen for the Blu-rays that I watched it on. And you kind of forget how weird it is to not have music, how jarring it can really be to you. Everyone thinks about, the dialogue and the action, the camera work, stuff like that. And they don't really think about the music too much. Maybe you do, maybe you're different or something like that. But you forget how used to you hearing music all the time is. And so there was a lot of shots that had Dracula just walking or standing there. And you know what kind of music's going to play during those. It's that slow, methodical, build-up, creepy music. And there just wasn't any there. It was so weird. So that right out of the gate, that took a little getting used to. I ended up very much enjoying it. And it worked for it a little bit. Some of the slow movements of Dracula without music were just kind of oh my God, this is so creepy. So that kind of helped it a little bit. All right, moving on to some other stuff. It was interesting to see. So I went to school for radio, TV, film. I was a film student, and so I know all about camera work and shot composition and lighting and all that stuff. It was very interesting to see shots that weren't perfect. Because you're used to not seeing any mistakes in movies, but in this one there was a few shots that weren't lined up perfectly or didn't have the subjects perfectly centered where they're supposed to be for normal film shots. And that was really interesting to see that. I imagine these cameras are hundreds of pounds all the way back then, and moving them at all is probably pretty tough. So it was interesting to see that kind of time period where the shots weren't necessarily completely perfect. That was very, very interesting to see. So away from all the boring, detail-y radio or movie shot composition stuff, let's get into the actual plot of the movie. So it's a very simple plot. There's not a lot going on here. It's Dracula. He goes to a new country, starts killing people, befriends this family where he's trying to turn one of the daughters into one of his wives, and they try and kill him. Bam. That's the movie. That is the movie. That's about it. Not a lot going on. It's pretty simple. But it's to the point. It's a monster movie. Horror movies never really have the crazy plot anyway. Just more within the last 20, 30 years or so is when they really started giving backstories to the ghosts and stuff like that. So a little different for a 1931 black and white movie with no sound in it. Or no music in it. So I definitely have some thoughts about the characters. Let's just get out of the way with the background characters, the people trying to kill Dracula. There's so little development to them. I mean, the girl he's trying to turn into one of his brides is betrothed to some goody two-shoes guy, who isn't important at all. The only other character that actually had any kind of importance was the doctor who figured out that Dracula was a vampire. And it gave me a little nerdgasm when he said his name was Van Helsing. I was like, whoa, that's where it comes from. The original OG Van Helsing, probably from the original Bram Stoker novel, or the original Dracula novel. That was probably the doctor in that in that novel. But man, I've heard like throughout, like this movie set up Dracula forever. Like from here on out, Van Helsing has been a super popular name associated with the Dracula brand and movies and anime and TV shows and stuff like that. And it was super cool to see that name first time on the screen. I was like, wow, man, that the impact that that name would have throughout the rest of Dracula history was very cool. That was a cool little moment for me. And then besides that, there's mainly only two characters that have a big impact, to me at least. There's Dracula, and then he has a sidekick. And I got some thoughts on the sidekick a little bit. So for the sidekick, let's go to Dracula, because Dracula is a little more normal for me. Dracula, oh man, he was creepy. He was very, very, very creepy. He wasn't scary. I can't give him that. Like, it goes back, this movie, this is back to a simpler time in movies where the bad guy, he's so obviously the bad guy. Like, just straight up to the point, super bad guy. There's no big reveal that Dracula's a bad guy or anything like that. The second you see him, you just know. You just know that's a bad dude. That is a bad dude. And man, it's like Scar. It's like Scar in The Lion King, where like you see Scar and like, yeah, he's a lion, whatever, but you can just tell. Like you know that dude is a bad dude. And more recently, there's been way more like, oh, who's bad, who's good, stuff like that. And it's cool to go back to a time where it's just like, yep, that is the bad guy. And for some reason, people don't see it yet. Some people just can't see it yet. There's a few weird shot selections when it came to Dracula. He would, there was a lot of very, very extreme close-ups, probably from like here to here, just on his face. And it wasn't necessarily like a super okay, it was creepy. Obviously, it was creepy. It was a very close-up of this creepy guy, but it wasn't really like you'd expect like it to be like a Jim from The Office kind of look, not like the ironic like, oh, look what I deal with kind of look, but like you think you'd want it to be like recognizable, be like, oh, that's the Dracula look. For the amount of times that they do it in the movie, it's like 7 times or something like that in the movie. You'd think they'd want it to be a little more recognizable. And to me, all it was just kind of creepy, a little awkward, and that was about it. Not a huge deal on that front. So Dracula, he did a lot of slow moving walks, which is always kind of creepy, which added to the creepiness because there wasn't any music. But so I think coming from me, who wasn't watching this live in the movies, who's been through, so many decades of movies in the past with a bunch of music, I think the creepiness that I feel now is a little different than the creepiness that came back then. Because like back then it was this monster, this big monster that doesn't have, 80 years of history to him, walking down these stairs all horrifying. Like, and to me, it's just a creepy character walking really slowly, kind of awkwardly down the stairs to no music, which makes it even creepier. So the creepiness vibe, the type of creepiness is a little different for me than I imagine it's different from the people who are actually watching it back in the past. So a few other things with Dracula. The way he appears, like he's supposed to be able to appear out of like nowhere. Like he's magic. He transforms from a bat or teleports or something like that. And he transforms into a dog in this movie. Is that a thing that Dracula just does? I don't know. I thought that I haven't heard of that really too much. He transformed in like a wolf kind of thing. I thought that was kind of strange. But the way they get around him teleporting without animated or computer generated effects is so funny. What they'll do is like they'll show us like his hand coming out of like his casket or whatever, and then they'll pan away and then pan back, and then he's standing all of a sudden. It's like a home movie almost. So funny. So I thought that was pretty comical. That was pretty good. The way they get around get around magical stuff without actually using computer generated effects is funny. Like the bats. Oh man, the practical effects bats was so good. It was so fake, but I loved it. Loved every minute of it. It's really cool to see all these practical effects. Going back and seeing these practical effects and how like they absolutely had to use these because they didn't have a choice. There wasn't any computer generated, After Effects kind of stuff. So it's really cool to see how they got around these magical moments by using these practical effects. But back to Dracula. I tangent. I'm such a tangenter. It's really bad. So so Dracula bites people. Who'd have thought? He sucks their blood with fangs and stuff like that. Leaves 2 holes and sucks out their blood and stuff like that. The thing that was bugging me so bad with this movie, man, it was killing me towards the end, is that they never show him actually bite someone. Not once. They never show him actually bite someone. All they do is so this is like the person, and these are his teeth. He's going in, and then right when he gets like here, it takes him a while. It's more like this. It takes him a while to get there. And when he gets really, really close, they fade to black. It's like, come on, you're like, I know it's scary and stuff like that, but just show me, man. Just once. Like the last one, please just show me. But nope. Maybe there's different rating systems back then. And it's an R movie. Like this would be like a PG-13 max movie in today's day and age. So weird. But I digress. There weren't that many things that really threw me off, and that was one, and the music is another one. So it's all right. It's all good. So enough with Dracula. On to the character that really was weird character, and that would be Dracula's sidekick, his apprentice, like his servant, maybe. I guess it's his servant. He was the one that transported him from wherever he was to England. I can't remember where he was. But he obviously, Dracula can't go out in the sun. He's stuck in his casket during the day. He has to sleep. So he needed someone to transport him over. And this guy, I guess he Dracula promised him something. And like he'd be able to drink the blood of a bunch of rats or something. This guy was weird. This is a weird character. So he's helping Dracula out, and Dracula can kill him at any moment and stuff like that. Dracula's his master. So, weird character. So the second he gets to England, he immediately gets into an insane asylum that's run by the girl who's Dracula is turning into as one of his wives, her dad. I stuttered so much for that sentence. I'm not redoing it though. No. Okay. So that's the connection there, and it's like I don't. Besides Dracula moving over or being moved by him, I don't really see too much of a point in this guy. He's so creepy. To me, he's twice as creepy as Dracula, and he's just kind of there. He's just kind of there to. He doesn't really add much to the story. It's like he confirms Dracula exists. Like he's a vampire, or he doesn't confirm that he is a vampire. He confirms that vampires exist or something like that. And then he accidentally leads the main heroes of the story, Van Helsing, to Dracula's lair. It's like, what? Like, that's it? That's all this guy does? And he just keeps appearing to give stupid, obvious information away that we all know. We already know. Even the main characters know. And all he did was just really add to the creepiness to me. He was such a prominent character in it that he just was just kind of weird to me, And okay, so they're at an insane asylum, right? This insane asylum has the worst security ever. This guy, this creepy assistant to Dracula guy, breaks out of his cell 4 times. Maybe it's 3, whatever. More than 0. Means too much for an insane asylum. And I get it's, 80 years ago at this point. So, whatever. It was I'm nitpicking, but that was weird. That was weird to me. And this guy, he does all this stupid, almost worthless stuff in this movie just to lead them to Dracula's lair and then get killed by Dracula for leading him there. Dracula just like squeezes his neck to death instantly or something, and then he falls down the stairs really awkwardly. I bet that hurt. So the stairs, he got down to like the third to last stair, and then he fell off the side. So that fall actually probably hurt him. That fall hurt him pretty bad because it was all practical, obviously, and it was probably real stairs. So that poor actor. So yeah, just kind of weird. Weird assistant. Didn't, he was really creepy. So I guess that kind of added to the creepiness of it, because the creepiness, or it wasn't scary, and it's a monster movie. So, and I guess the standards are a lot different. This is old. I like old movies. I like this. I like Dracula quite a bit, but that kind of, it was weird. It was just weird. I'll leave it at that. But the other thing was the ending. The ending it was so anticlimactic. Like, they were setting up like a chase scene, like a Scooby-Doo style chase scene that's obviously more serious. They're chasing after Dracula, who has the daughter. Van Helsing and the dad are chasing after Dracula. They follow the Dracula's assistant back to Dracula's castle, which they knew where it was, which was weird. So there's a chase scene. There's like a 10-second chase scene inside the castle, down into like the dungeons where Dracula is, and Dracula has to sleep through the day, through the day. So it's like, oh, I guess they found Dracula. They just had to break down a door, and then they found him, and that was it. And he's like incapacitated because it's during the day. So they go and find the daughter, who's like sitting in a corner or something like that, who's being like transformed into a vampire and stuff. And then the Dr. Van Helsing just stabs Dracula with a stake in the heart, and then that's it. That's the movie. They all walk off and be happy. It's like Dracula wasn't even able to put up a fight. He just ran away, got in his casket, fell asleep, and died. It's like, okay, all right, I guess that's Dracula. So, ending very, very anticlimactic. The movie altogether was pretty entertaining. I love going back in time like this to see all these really, really old movies. So the disc, I got like a disc set, a Blu-ray set for all these super OG monster movies. So it has Dracula, I think it's 6. Dracula, Frankenstein, Frankenstein's wife, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, and the first ever like werewolf. I don't think it's called werewolf, but something, Wolfman. So Halloween is in the air. I love Halloween. Favorite time of year. Halloween movies, best thing ever. I hope you guys are ready for Halloween extravaganza throughout like September and October, mainly October. This might be the only one for September, but we'll see. You never know. So hope you're ready I'll get to all those eventually. Probably not all this year, because there's a lot of other Halloween movies I really want to get to that are like some of my favorite movies of all time. So, sorry, another tangent. I liked Dracula. It had its moments. It's aged, obviously, but I think it's aged decent enough where I still obviously enjoyed it. The biggest thing for me was the music. Getting used to having no music was jarring. It wasn't the easiest thing to do. But besides that, I mean, it was entertaining for the most part. I went in with pretty low expectations, and I will for the rest of these old movies. So yeah, that's Dracula. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below of what you want me to watch next, or which of those six movies that I mentioned earlier, of the really old ones, Dracula, Frankenstein, Frankenstein's wife, Mummy, Invisible Man, Werewolf, Wolfman, whatever. Which one of those is your favorite, or which one you'd be most excited for me to talk about, and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.